So I wanted to, I'm just going to try to find the introduction that I have somewhere here. I did. Oh, here we go. I wanted to introduce our guest of honor, Police Officer Eugene Mesmer. So Police Officer Mesmer is, as I said, with the Nassau County Police Department of Community Affairs. His police background includes 18 and a half years with Nassau County, 3 years with the New York City Police Department, and he served honorably 3 years of active duty with the United States Army. So we are really, really lucky to have a Police Officer Mesmer, who's obviously very, very skilled and knowledgeable about this topic about senior fraud and scams and Smart 911. So Police Officer Mesmer, thank you.
Lori, thank you very much. That was, I'm very humbled. That was a very nice introduction. And as far as some of the things that I'm going to speak about today, specifically with the Smart 911, it's actually something that I've been in community affairs now, it'll be 3 years in January. But I did learn about the Smart 911 program, and when I first started to speak about it and learn about the different things, and it's like anything else, you do your research. I just wanted to let everyone know up front with this, I had signed up my family after I looked into it. But before I go into some of the programs that I'm going to discuss today, just some very basics. And this is part of that in-person presentation that I'd given on September 1st. But generally, with anything as far as the police on reporting a crime, any type of emergency, and some of this, just bear with me, there are little reminders. I know probably all of you know how to do this already. So anything that's an emergency, an immediate police action, you always call 911. With Nassau County, you can, even if it's not an emergency, you can still call the 911 line. They still will send out officers for non-emergency. If you also have the choice of, if it's something that you want to report to non-emergency, you can go into the different police precincts, the eight precincts that are in Nassau County, to report any activity. And basically, once you go in and report it, whether it's to the officer that comes to your door.
No.
Or someone's mic on?
I'm doing a
Can everybody mute themselves, please, because it is hard to hear. I'd really appreciate it if you mute yourselves. Thank you.
Okay. So if you go into the precinct and you speak to the officers at the desk, they can take a report, and then at that point there's a determination that's made whether or not it's a criminal or a non-criminal matter. If it's a criminal matter and it involves further investigation, then a lot of times those cases, those police reports get forwarded to our detective division. And at some point, if detectives get a case that you've reported, they will contact you. Now, I kind of wrap this in to our, protecting our public and the seniors by saying that anytime you get a phone call from a police line, or in this case, a detective's line, it might come up unknown or private, or the exchange for Nassau County with the police department is a 573. As you can see in the chat group, Community Affairs is 573-7360. But if you're ever in doubt as to if this person is legitimately a police officer or a detective, you could always call your local precinct. So now, for example, I worked in the 4th precinct for 15 years. I worked in the 5 towns. So the precinct that I worked out of was in Hewlett. So that number is 573-6400. So depending on where you live, if it's the 1st, it's 6100. If it's the 2nd, it's 6200. You see the pattern, but it's always a 573. But if you ever have a question as to, and even if you're driving, you get pulled over, it's not a marked patrol car, you can always call the precinct, or you could always call 911 to verify the identity, to make sure that the person in fact is a detective or police officer from our department, just to protect the public. So I don't know if on the Charles, I don't know if on the chart I put up precinct numbers. Is that
Yeah,
up there?
let's get this PowerPoint.
I might jump back
fine.
and forth a little bit.
No problem. Okay.
So that's
Can everyone see the slides? Just want to make sure everyone can see them. Okay, I see them, so they're working. Good.
okay. So I will go into, so there are addresses and phone numbers for the precinct, for the 8 precincts, which I think is a little bit, it's further down. We'll just go back and forth.
Sorry about that.
Is it, I'm sorry, did I put it in there or no?
I don't believe so. So
Okay.
I didn't see it there. Yeah.
So basically, what I can do is if anyone has a question about a precinct location, they can ask me during, I apologize that I should have included that. But they can ask me during the presentation. But if we can go back, I'll go right into Smart 911. So Smart 911 is a free program for Nassau County residents. It is a safe program. And what you're basically doing is, now you can create it on your, there's an app for it, or you can go onto your personal computer. And the website for that is www.smart911.com. Or if you even just Google Smart 911, it should come up as a search. And what you're basically doing is you're creating for your family, this is for people that live in a residence, a home or an apartment, you're creating a safety profile for yourself. If you live by yourself, just for yourself or for your family. And once, it's like anything nowadays, once you go into the program, they're going to ask you for your name, your address. They're going to ask you for dates of birth. They're going to ask you for your email address. And basically you're going to give them your email. You're going to create a password. They often will ask for a PIN number, which is a security. It's used for security reasons. And the main purpose of creating the safety profile is, let's just say you have an emergency at your home, you call 911. Now, Smart 911 in Nassau County is under the Nassau County 911 system. The 911 operator is your number is gonna come up. And as long as you have created this program, you've enrolled in the Smart 911 program, your information is gonna come up. So for example, if I were to call from my house in Belmore, which is part of the, it's under obviously the Nassau County 911 system. They're going to say, oh, is this, am I speaking to Eugene, which is my first name, Eugene Mass, or are they speaking to either my wife or my mother-in-law? If say the incident, or say I need an ambulance, information is going to pop up on me where the 911 operator can see, okay, he has no allergies to medications. This is his medications. This is things that we need to let the first responders be aware of when they respond to the home. Not only the police, but also the fire department or the ambulance. So I had someone that I was helping with setting up a profile some months back. There was a special exception, and the person had 2 double hearing aids. So that's something that you can, what I like about this, that you can make it unique to you, where you can, and that's obviously important. Person has difficult hearing, you can type that information in to the into your profile. And like I said, allergies, medications, I know is a big thing. With Smart 911, everyone in Nassau County can sign up for the program. It's a company that's nationwide. When you first go into the program, you're going to put your zip code in. So as long as you're within Nassau County, you can enroll in the program. I know I've been asked this question, and it's only by going to these different presentations that I learned this, that other areas, I know Suffolk is now part of Smart 911. Their county did purchase the program. The city does not have that program. But once once you put your zip code in, you enroll, and you create your profile, you put your password in, your user ID, which is your email, you're ready to go. It's important that for people to know that there are villages besides the 8 precincts in Nassau County. There are villages, there are cities meaning like Glen Cove, Long Beach. Villages, for example, maybe the village of Flora Park, maybe the village of Malvern, maybe the village of Lynbrook, that have their own police department. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is that with Smart 911, all county residents can enroll in the program. Nassau County Police did not too long ago add an additional, I guess, thing to Nassau County Police Department, where someone that would like we call them well checks, but an officer that in Nassau County that patrols in any of the 8 precincts can go to a resident in any of those 8 precincts for a well check. And all that would simply be is an officer, for example, I'll use an example of the 5th precinct. I'm using the 5th precinct, and I can use a town specifically for the 5th. So Elmont is where the 5th precinct is, on Dutch Broadway. So say someone lives in Elmont or any of the towns covering the 5th, someone wants a visit from a 5th precinct police officer. They can opt in. It's like with anything, you can opt into something to have it, and you can opt out, or just not even enroll in it, and you still have the basic 911 program for county residents. But if you are covered by the 8 precincts, an officer from that precinct can come and just check up on you. They're never going to be in plain clothes. And this is also back to what we talk about protecting the public and trying to weed out people that are going to pretend like they're not who they say. They'll be in a marked patrol car, a Nassau County patrol car, and a uniform. And they'll just knock on your door and see how you're doing. Now that is for people that are patrolled by the different precincts. For the villages, unfortunately, the villages don't have that program. It's only for, so I have to make that important distinction. There are other options. There are other things that once you go into the program, you can opt into notifications for weather, for traffic. It's a very easy program. Once you go into it, like I was telling Gloria earlier, I went into it just to update some things, but it's always also important with the program. I would say once a quarter, every few months, just go in, log in, just to familiarize yourself with the program, and also so there's no issues with if it's not used in a while, where there's any timing out issues. But just go in. Immediately, what they're going to do is they're going to ask you COVID questions. So when you create an account, you're going to have what they call it's called your profile. So you can put in as much information or as little information as you want. So my profile prior to me going in was probably at 100%. It had dropped down to maybe 89%. The reason for that is maybe a few months went by, I wasn't in there, and they want to know updated COVID questions. So they ask you, are you in quarantine? I said, no. And then they asked me, are you in good health? Yes. And then at the bottom, I saved it. It automatically brought my profile up to 94%. Then asked the same question of my wife and my mother-in-law, and then it brought back up to 100%. I'm hoping that I'm clear with that portion of the Smart 911. I'm going to just continue. Charles, if you could just go to the next screen. So this right here, and I know the JCC has paper copies, and I know it's on the presentation. I'm looking forward to the next time I'm going to come back and give a presentation in person. But this is all the requirements, and like I said, it gives the website www.smart911.com. It does give you all the different criteria. If you're you must have a Smart 911 account to be enrolled in the senior engagement visit from the Nassau County police officer for people that are in those 8 precincts. It's also going to give you all those different notifications. Now, with the notifications, like I said, it's, you have a choice. You don't have to receive that. That's actually done through email and voice. It's not text. So if I put text, if text is on there, I apologize, Gloria. That's that was actually a misprint, and I made the correction. And like I said, if there's ever a question about the software itself, you can call us. We're generally Monday through Friday, but you can always email us, and that's not a problem. You can go to the next, Charles, you can go to the next slide. All right, like I said, this is pretty much a lot of what I talked about. It's just a little bit of a review. There's an age criteria, 65 or older. You have to have this is for the visits from the Nassau County police officer for those that are in the 8 precincts of Nassau. And like I said, it gives our information again. There's information on YouTube. You can go in, and that's a presentation given by our police commissioner, Patrick Ryder, that talks about the program. You can go on to the next slide. Okay, just to shift gears a little bit from Smart 911. This is something that I added to my presentation because, with the computer age, sometimes people may not have access to a computer or they're not comfortable. So we want everyone to be able to be in a position where they can give information to our first responders, whether it's law enforcement or ambulance or fire department. So this is a program that's been around. I know a lot of social workers that I've spoken to have said they're very familiar with this program. I was familiar with it from many years ago through projects I did or helping my brother with a project with Scouts. But this is the Vial of Life program. So you have the option of going on to their site and creating an account, just like Smart 911. Or if you go on there, and like I said, a lot of what I'm talking about today, they're all paper copies at the JCC. And if there's any time where you have questions, you can also email us about this. But you're on the back of this form, you're filling out all your medications, all your information, your name, your date of birth, allergies to medications, specific medical concerns. And then what you're doing is you're taking that piece of paper and you're folding it up. You can either do one of two things. You can put it in a Ziploc bag, which is what we do now, or like it was so many years ago, you can put it in a little, an old medicine bottle, as long as you mark it. And how it's marked is you have 2 stickers. You can put the first sticker, because this Ziploc bag with your medical information or the medicine bottle is going to go into your refrigerator. And there's a red sticker that goes on the outside of either your house door or your apartment door. So officers or first responders can visually see, oh, this person has medical information, and we know this program, it's the Vial of Life. And yes, it's in the refrigerator. We can go immediately to that refrigerator in your home, grab that information, and be able to have that information to help treat you if you have to go to the hospital. The second sticker can go on the outside of the refrigerator. If you had a third sticker, minimum of 2, I would say. But if you had a third one, that can either go on the vial, the medicine vial, or the outside of the Ziploc bag. And if we can move on to the next part of it. So now from the medical first responder presentation, I'm going to talk a little bit about things that affect everyone, not just this group, not just our seniors, because it has affected me and my family personally, and I'll give a couple of examples. But there are a lot of scams out there. So what we generally talk about is we have this acronym. It's called SCAM. So the first part of this is stop. Every time you're asked to immediately wire money, pay with gift cards, or ask for personal information, stop. Think about what you're doing and just say to yourself, wait a minute, is this legitimate? Not give that information or wire that money by any means. Check. So is the person who they claim to be? Now, a lot of times unfortunately, there are scams, as mentioned in this flyer, where people will call up and say, this is your grandson, or this is your granddaughter, and I'm in jail, or I just got into a bad accident. That's a pretty common one. That's been going on for a long time now. A lot of times, like I said, my mother, who's in her mid-80s, she got a call one day from my nephew. But my nephew was fine. He works in Manhattan. He actually works for the FBI. But he was fine. But they were trying to get them to send some sort of money, or trying to reel her in. My advice with anything, when the phone rings, if you don't recognize the number, don't pick up the phone. Don't engage them. I know a lot of times people will tell me, "Oh, well, I picked up the phone and I played around with them, and I had somebody tell me they blew a whistle into the phone," which is good for a laugh, but I would say just don't engage them. Alert. So once this call comes through, you can alert the authorities. Either you're either calling your local police precinct, or in some cases, if a lot of times they have the IRS scams where they tell you owe money to the IRS, you're going to be arrested. That's another pretty common one. If you see on the flyer, it says the Federal Trade Commission. So that's 877 FTC help. You can contact them to report them saying that whether you owe back taxes, or there's something with your social security number. And then lastly, mention. So I would say the best thing is when you get these calls, stop and follow the next two, but also mention it to friends and family that might be able to say, no, that's not legitimate. That's fraud. Or just to educate others as to, listen, I got this call today and now they're looking for this. They're looking for me to go to a local store and pick up gift cards. So it's always good to communicate with your family and your friends, and to let people know that this is going on. And Charles, you can go to the next slide. Thank you. So this is another flyer, which, as I mentioned previously, these flyers are all been distributed by email and through paper emails to the JCC. One thing if I can point out first, it's very important, and I'm going to give a specific example concerning myself, is that if you see something online and it seems like, wow, this is a really good thing for me to buy, and that old saying, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. So a family member told me, listen, Milwaukee tools, if people are familiar with Milwaukee tools, so you can buy maybe something to fix at your house. The first thing I would always tell you to do is reach out to the company's corporate headquarters and see if this is legitimate. And the example I'm going to give is, I was trying to get something for the backyard. I was trying to get a trimmer, and my brother had said, listen, go online. They're giving a special sale on this particular yard trimmer. So I went online and I registered. Now, what happened was the site that was up looked like a Milwaukee site for tools, but it wasn't. And unfortunately, I didn't know to do this beforehand, and I only make this mistake once. Was that after they took money from me, which I was able to be reimbursed by my credit union, they told me that their corporation does not distribute to individual residents, that they'll deal with main suppliers being like a Home Depot or a Lowe's store. So they don't sell to individual households. So that's something that when I looked at this flyer, I wanted to take from it and then share my experience. With that, you say, okay, well, Eugene, what did you do after you realized that you were scammed, that money was taken? So I did contact my bank. I notified my bank, and then I canceled my debit card because of the dollar value. It was not a lot of money, but they were able to reimburse me, which was good. I did also, and I got new cards. I got new debit cards. So that's how that happened. Now, generally, with things that are thousands of dollars, some places are going to require a police report. So I would encourage you to get a police report. And also, in cases of fraud, I would always tell you to call your credit card. I'm sorry, the credit bureaus, whether it's Equifax, for example. Call them to notify them of the fraud. And like I said, I know I just mentioned this, but mention you contact your bank, and you mention you contact your credit agencies. There's a number of other different things on there. How to spot an email scam. I'm not a cyber expert, but these are some things these are generally just some tips. Email contains a generic rather than a personal greeting. Now at work, even in the police department, a lot of times I'll give out my business card, and people from organizations that I'm going to be maybe presenting will send me an email back, but it'll give me a warning that this is from an outside organization. But then before I open it, I'll look at it and say, yes, I know I did speak to someone from there, and it's okay. But a lot of times though, we do get things that come from left field that I don't recognize, and I immediately delete them. So that's something that you need to remember to do that when you're home, in your personal emails, and as well as your work emails. Be very careful as to what you're opening up. It says, if you look at the top, double check before you double click. Don't open anything that you don't recognize. And like I said, that goes along with the phone calls. Phone call comes up, you have contacts, you don't recognize the number, don't answer the phone. And it just talks about all these different other things: poor quality, grammar, spelling, presentation. Once again, we're back to they're requesting large amounts of money or personal information. Be careful of the pop-ups on your electronic device requesting to allow unknown software to run your computer. A lot of times you'll get people calling you up saying, "Oh, we know you're having problems with your computer software, and we're here to help you to fix it." That's another scam. I already mentioned reaching out to the headquarters of a particular company. And it says here, do not send anything to companies that do not respond back to you, to your attempts to receive more information. And I know I mentioned clicking on pop-ups. Also very important with any of the social media sites. Be careful what you put in your profiles. Do not post your personal email, phone numbers, or address on social media. Do not use the same password for every account profile. I know with my job, every few months, I have to update my password, which I'm sure a lot of companies do that now. And it's also encouraged at home in your personal computer. And ways of protecting your home Wi-Fi network with a password. And also, I don't know, I can't endorse or mention any particular company, but you can always check into computer security software. And just at the bottom, hold on a second, let me just click something out of here. Like I said, if you are a victim, there tends to be people that, they know they've been scammed and they're embarrassed. Now, I just gave one example of myself, and I was not so much embarrassed as I was annoyed, because I really wanted that weed trimmer. But it happens to everyone. So never feel shamed. It happens. It's just with today's technology, the scammers have gotten more sophisticated, and they're very good at what they do, unfortunately. So I would tell everyone here, it's important to report it, to have it documented, because then it's going to potentially protect your credit, your identity. Please don't feel ashamed. Please call the police department, make a report. And so, it's documented. And I think we can go to the next slide.
Okay, so that's the last slide that I have.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yes. Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm just gonna take a look. I'm just gonna basically just talk about some things that aren't on the slides, but in 2019, 256 reported senior scams. Okay. 2020, it was 180. 2021, it was 123, and 2022, it was 25. So as you can see, the number went very high and then dropped down. Now you say to yourself, well, is that because people are getting educated and becoming smarter and the criminals are giving up, or people are not reporting it because maybe they feel embarrassed or ashamed? I don't know. But I would just say, like I said, I think the more education that is put out there and the more people share information, that's going to obviously keep that number down. But I would tell you that if you please don't hesitate to contact either your local authorities, or in some cases, as we mentioned with the tax stuff, the IRS. The whole thing with the IRS is they say, oh, the IRS is going to come to your house. My advice, first of all, the IRS doesn't come. That they send letters, but what I would always do is, just from my standpoint, is if I got something from the IRS, my accountant has always said, if you ever get something where maybe something wasn't included in your return, or you're getting a phone call, reach out to me. And it so happens that one of my accountants is a former IRS agent, so that helped. But always reach out to someone that is going to have the resources and the knowledge to say, well, if you're getting a phone call, that's definitely not how the IRS operates. They're going to send a letter. And then, like I said, I would work through the professional that you're paying that does your tax returns every year. I wanted to just touch base. Like I know, like today I was speaking about the 9/11 presentation. I was talking about the Vial of Life program to help people, and then we were talking about as far as the scams to help people as far as fraud. But our department, specifically community affairs, does a lot besides this type of education. A lot of us in the office are New York State certified to do car seat child installations and inspections. So every year, this office works with our local legislators, where it's usually during the warmer months, where we arrange for parents that are even before the child is born. We arrange to they come and we install that car seat, but we also show them how to install it, and we inspect it to make sure the car seat is safe. That's a very big function for us. We during the winter months, we work with the Department of Public Works. They have a building in Hicksville, and that's something where if that information is needed, I can always forward that, Gloria, to you. That's a main thing of what we do to make sure that children are safely restrained and they're safe in the vehicle in the event, obviously in the event of an accident. We have what they call GRATE. It's a gang it's gang education. So there are officers that are GRATE trained, and it's basically they're teaching kids not to join gangs and making good choices. So that's another thing. They teach a program in the school districts. We talk about, we have career days where we talk about our profession and a lot of the things that we do as police officers. We do that a lot of times in the school. And I know in May, the police department has an open house where families can come and see the different things and that police use, in our profession. We, in community affairs, we have a bike unit. So in the bike unit, they do bike safety presentations. So that's something that, and obviously it's guided by the weather. But that's another thing from community affairs. We talk about we talk about making good choices. I actually besides this, the senior presentations that I do, I also speak to students about making good choices in terms of healthy choices in terms of the vaping and also the drug use. We talk a little bit about marijuana use. We talk a little bit about fentanyl. Senior scams, as I mentioned. We do have a ride-along program for people that might be interested in being police officers. They have to pass a background check, but as long as they pass a background check, we have an officer that takes them out. I don't want to go into every one of them, but we also have a very important program we have is the Police Explorer program for any person from the ages of 14, 21. It's under the umbrella, best way for me to describe it is it's under the umbrella of the Boy Scouts of America, or the Scouts of America. I think that's their term now. And it's for people that might be interested in law enforcement. So they do a lot of different trips. They do a lot of like drills, what I call DNC, drill and ceremony, but they compete. They learn a lot about different things that police officers do. It's a very good program, and I've found that I've had a background in scouting, so I found that this particular group is a very good group to work with, and I actually enjoy working with the kids.
Sure.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Okay, so one of the things also, we're the JCC is on the South Shore, and we were, of course, impacted very severely by Hurricane Sandy and Irene, and on and on and on and on.
Okay.
And we're getting close. We're starting to approach hurricane season. We're in hurricane season, actually, officially. And then, of course, as time goes on, we're going to approach it even more. And as for seniors, I always like people to think about what's the best way to prepare themselves for this season and upcoming storms and winter. Do you guys talk about that at all? Is that something you guys do?
We don't have, we are all, that's actually a very excellent question. And I think that's like the first time I've been asked that question since being in community affairs. So that's good. But generally, I would say the best office to ask about preparedness for a storm would be the Nassau County Office of Emergency Management.
Oh yeah, that's the ones. Okay.
Yeah, and off the top of my head, only because during COVID, when everything got shut down, obviously we weren't in the schools, so we weren't educating kids. We were making deliveries for the OEM. Our office was turned into where we were making deliveries for the OEM. So the state was sending medical supplies, the masks and the different gowns and different things. They were sending it to a location for OEM. And then we would take vans and distribute them to the nursing homes and the different places that were running out of, PPE, the personal protective equipment.
Sure.
But I would say that they would probably have some information, and they are South Oyster Bay Road. Don't hold me to the address, but I believe it's like 530 South Oyster Bay Road. They're up by where the old Grumman plant used to be.
Sure.
Yeah, so I would reach out. You can always Google Nassau County Department of OEM, and they probably could set you up with maybe information or someone that could provide you information for.
Yeah, even if we could just distribute information, because I think people
Yeah,
need to
that's-
start thinking about it and just basics.
I would check with them. The other thing I didn't want to, because I wanted to cover everything. The other thing also is that in certain areas in Nassau County, in the last several months, we've had incidences where people's cars have been stolen, and or people's cars were parked and they were maybe unlocked. So just it's really a reminder, but it's really important, even if you're going to that gas station or you're going to a convenience store for that split second, you think, oh, I just got to run in to get something to drink, or I'm doing something very quick. Always lock your vehicle up. You want to be able to, when you come out, still have a vehicle. And B, if your car is parked in the driveway, people have no problem, criminals coming by and trying the locks, or with anything with the fobs now, with new, obviously with the newer technology, they will test you and they will check. And if it's easier for them, it just makes it easier for them to take your personal belongings. So just be mindful of that. Don't leave, if you're gonna leave your car for a second, just make sure you lock it up.
Wow, okay.
Hi, Officer Messmer. I have a question, just building on from what Gloria had asked.
Okay.
Down on the South Shore specifically, and then more generally, when there has been, during many of the hurricanes, there was a lot of damage to people's property, and the contractors, construction people, were taking advantage of a lot of the people there, and there were a lot of fraud scams going on. Also, many of the people in the PD community have had to have contractors in to have work done on their houses in order to accommodate certain disabilities. When we run into issues where there are fraud scams with these contractors, where's the best place to go to report that?
Well, there's a few different places. I mean, you can start with your local police department, with Nassau County, depending on where you live. You can also contact Nassau County, maybe Consumer Affairs. But if you think it's, if you think it's something where it's some sort of fraud or scam, the Nassau County District Attorney's Office, a lot of times, you'll see where they are, they have investigators that, we have detectives that work in the Nassau County, District Attorney's Office. And, for example, like they might be going after, for example, maybe some of these smoke shops that are selling more than, legal cigarettes. So, or, the different places that have, illegal activity. But you could always, when in doubt, you could always start with the local police department, whether it's one of the 8 precincts in Nassau County, or one of the villages, or 2 of the cities. Glen Cove, I say city, which is Nassau, it's Glen Cove and Long Beach.
Right.
And start there. At least notify a police authority of this. Listen, this is what's going on. And then what happens is then there's the determination as to, okay, well, is this a criminal matter? And that's why we have in police department, we have detectives, and they can determine, is this a criminal matter that requires us to investigate and make an arrest, or is this a civil matter? And if it's a civil matter where, like, say you have a contract with someone to do work, you gave them some money, but they didn't complete the work, and you're trying to get them back, that's something where then, that you might be advised to get an attorney, a civil attorney, to sue them. So I hope that answers your question.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it does. Other questions? I'm just so impressed with your breadth of knowledge. You sort of know, a little about a lot, or a lot about a little. I don't know what it is, but it's just a lot, period.
You know what it is. It's. I take pride, and I want to be able to educate people. But a lot of it is doing, working with officers in here that have been here longer than me, picking their brain, but also doing my own research.
Yeah.
But also using the research that my department already has that I can take from, and then be able to educate the public.
No, you really can tell. I mean, quite remarkable. Anybody questions? So the other question I had is in terms of the Vial of Life. So as a social worker, I've been doing Vial of Life for a very many years. I don't even know how many years. That's like an old school, really
Yes.
fabulous thing. It's very, very old school, which is of course what I am, very old school, and as a social worker. And so we did that. We had the plastic bag on the fridge wrapped around, you know, that's what we did. So what I'd love to do is to be able to send out that Vial of Life form, because not everybody. So is that something that's I can scan, that I can upload, you know?
Yeah, so this is where like I went onto their site
Mhm.
and all their materials are like if you can actually download their form. That's not a problem.
Oh, you can, okay.
Yes,
maybe
the
what I'll do
Ziploc
is-
bags is something that your office
Well,
would have.
people
to
have their
dispose of.
own, I mean, it's a bag, basically.
Now
It's
with
not
yeah,
something-
with this now with the stickers, there's
Yeah.
one or two ways. I think that you can purchase them through their site, or depending on your organization, don't hold me to this, but depending on your organization, you might be able to get a maybe a discount, or maybe they will send them to you. Usually the stickers, there's a charge for the stickers.
I could find out, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
so if we don't have official Vial of Life stickers, can we still put on Vial of Life on it? Like, is that patented or something?
I would ask them. Yeah.
Okay,
because
so
they
it is
are
through
private.
them.
Yeah, they are private. Yeah, I don't
They're a
want to say
private
yes. and then,
organization.
oh, who told you that? Oh, well, he works in community affairs.
I promise.
No, but-
not
Yeah, no,
doing-
I would, you know what, I would call them. They have a 1-800 number.
Yeah, I think we'll
I've
do
spoken
that.
to them before just to ask questions.
Okay,
just
because
like
it is
Smart
really,
Life.
yeah, because it's really important. I mean, just to everyone here to have that medication list posted
Oh,
somewhere. It's really.
Absolutely. And I think the thing is with you talking about old school, you know, on the back of that paper, you can write all the information, but then you're gonna have changes. So you're gonna start scratching stuff out. So my advice would be make a couple of blank copies. But probably the better way, the easier way is that you do create an account. You can go into your account and you can, you know, delete, you know, you can edit what you have in there and then
Right.
just print out a new copy.
Right.
But for people that, like I said, are uncomfortable with computers, you can just make a bunch of copies and then, but you just have to rewrite, do it manually. You have to rewrite everything. But in regards to anything with Smart 911, if you have any further like real technical questions, or if you see something on there and there's a Q&A, maybe you can't get a hold of us. I know with Vial of Life and I know with Smart 911, because I've called both numbers to ask questions. You can call anyone, not just a police officer, anyone in the public can call them and ask questions.
Right, and it's important to do. So again, just being registered for any of these things just makes it easier when first responders come to you and want to give you help and don't want to make a mistake and give you the wrong thing. I mean, just it's really important for them to be aware of what you're taking, what medications you're on. Really is
Ju-
important. It's really
Just as I'm thinking about, as you asked that question, on the Smart 911 site at the top, there's actually a box you can click. And it's like a lot of sites where if you have a Q&A, you know, or a frequently asked question box. You can click on that and it'll give you a list of those different questions that people have asked in the past, and it might actually answer your question right there online
That's true.
without waiting to speak to a representative, like a customer service representative.
All right, questions, guys? Anybody? Lot of information to process.
I know, and that's why it's like, you know,
Good though.
Is it possible for you to share the PowerPoint presentation? Because there seems to be a lot of good information on there.
generally, we do have a full PowerPoint, which I just took some of the flyers off there because I just by some restrictions, I can't share that. The department has a thing with sharing the entire PowerPoint, but any of the flyers that I sent to Gloria, you have copies of that that we emailed. So
You emailed them to me and that's
Yes.
what Charles turned into slides, but we could
yes,
email the actual flyers because on the slides, you couldn't see the small print, at least I couldn't.
Yes.
So the flyers were larger and we could certainly send those flyers out.
yeah, that's not. I mean, that's stuff
That was okay, because those are public flyers.
Yeah, I was handing them out everything that you saw on the presentation, I was handing out on the first. when I
Right, when
came.
you did your presentation, right, so we know
So
that.
that's not a problem, but the actual thing that we have, which is a little more involved, but I just refer to it here and I discuss. I can't send out the particular one that was made up by our department.
And we have this recorded, so we'll send this recording out as soon as we can as well.
Mhm.
Yeah, and like I said, if you have anything and you want to reach out to Gloria, but if there's something that can't be answered, Gloria can always send me an email and say, hey, listen, we had this question on, when we met on the 18th, there was another question that came in after the presentation. Could you help me answer that? And I will email you back. I always respond to emails, whether it's through either the community affairs or you can do it, Gloria, you can work through me and I can send out a response. It's not a problem.
Absolutely. Yeah, have any questions, feel free to send them to me, to Charles. We'll make sure that they get forwarded and that you get your answers. Absolutely. All right. Further questions? Anybody?
We also, in the police department, we also do recruitment. So after this presentation, I have to actually go to Roosevelt Field to some of my colleagues. The police department is giving a test within the next year. So I have to go out and speak to people to pre-register for the exam. So that's a very big part of our office. We do that. We promote obviously the police explorers and also our crossing guards. They are looking for part-time, not part-time crossing guards. So we do a lot of employment stuff to assist the department.
Anyone looking for a job?
That's another thing. If anyone has questions about that, they can send an email, a general email directly to community affairs. You don't have to go through Gloria for that. Just send it through community affairs at pdcn.org and we can, we handle a lot of, what questions like that, or if people have complaints, they come to us and we try to resolve those complaints or at least direct them to the department that handles that particular question or problem.
The right place. Yep. Yeah. All right. Okay, everybody. Well, thank you so much. That was, wonderful. I'm so sorry we had some glitches today, but thank you for a wonderful,
worries.
wonderful presentation.
It was a pleasure speaking to everyone here, and I definitely got a lot out of just talking to everyone today. Thank you. I appreciate it.
And we loved it. Thank you so much. And guys, the recording will be on our website and Charles and I will also send it out. I will send out Police Officer Messmer's information, the link to Smart 911 and to Vial of Life. And then if people have questions about it, you're more than welcome to reach out to either one of us. All right, everyone, have a great rest of day and rest of the summer, which has, I don't know where it went, but it's disappeared on me. And hopefully we'll all see you. We have something else coming up in September. Charles, do you remember what's coming up? Oh, on sleep, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so yeah, that's going to be a good one. We're going to have a neuropsychologist, Dr. Caitlin Miranda is going to talk about sleep and Parkinson's disease. And I think that's one of the ones I hear about every day. Nobody's sleeping, but I don't think anyone's sleeping. So you can all call me at 3 o'clock. I don't sleep. 3 a.m. is my time of day. You can all call me. I am awake. So I need to learn about sleep. All right.
Have a nice afternoon.
All right,
take
have a
care.
good one.
very much.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you, Officer Miser. Thanks.
Charles, thank you for your assistance. I appreciate your help. Thank you.
Have a good one.
Take care, everybody.